Well, week 8 happened. And so instead of recapping an underwhelming week of NFL action, today we are going to look ahead to the second half of the season because the season's already halfway over and give you second half league winners for your fantasy football teams. Now, to start, I want to make sure I make it clear to the people that we are approaching this in like 3 separate chunks, I'll say. We'll talk about like studs who can bounce back and prove that they're studs in the back half of the season. We'll talk about some of those like middle tier league winner caliber players. And then we'll take some long shots at the end of the episode. So a lot of big, heavy hitting names at top. Some guys where you're like, well, duh, they're good at football, like an Ashton Jeanty, Cameron, even though thus far on the season, he's only been the running back 18. And I would definitely say he's been disappointing, yet you think he could be a league winner back half of the season.
For sure. And not just him. The Raiders as a whole have been very disappointing, specifically Geno Smith. We knew this offensive line wasn't going to be great, but we expected Geno to be a lot better than what we've seen so far. However, even with all of that, Ashton Jeanty still 7th in carries per game. He's getting 100% of work inside the 5, which I know they're not inside the 5 a lot. But when you're on a team that's not there a lot, it makes a big difference when you're actually getting 100% of that work, right? Because when they do get there, they are using Ashton Jeanty. He looks good. Like, he's still passing the eye test. Don't let Ryan Clark tell you he doesn't have the it factor, because this dude does. He's 7th in missed tackles force per attempt right now.
That was good.
And before the Kansas City game, he was actually being used in the receiving game. The Kansas City game, six carries, 1 reception. They got blown out. Throw that game out. There, you know what? That might happen again once over the rest of the season, just because Vegas is not a good team. But I'm going to throw that one out when talking about them, because even in that Indy game where they got beat up bad, still had 14 carries, still had 5 receptions. He has seen 13 targets in those 3 games prior. So being used in the receiving game, and he has the 12th easiest schedule for running backs remaining according to Draft Shark. So I think that he's just going to continue to get more and more volume. They're just going to continue to lean on him. And if they're using them in the receiving game to get open, we're going to see some of these breakaway runs, some of these, what you came to expect from Ashton Jeanty, I think is what we're going to get back over the back half of the year. Similar to, I'm not going to say he's this guy, but similar to what we saw from Jonathan Taylor at the end of last year is my prediction for Ashton Jeanty. Maybe not quite the 200 yards in 3 straight games, but those big explosive plays, putting the team on the back, even though they're not a very good team.
Man, where do I want to start with Ashton Jeanty? Because I'm just concerned this Raiders team isn't going to end up being good enough for it to really matter. And at some point, I just have to question what Chip Kelly is doing when, if Geno Smith can't get it working in the passing game, why are we not trying to like just get more easy completions to Ashton Jeanty? Why does he only have 15 receptions on the year for an offense that's struggling, that needs to get the ball into their playmakers' hands? It doesn't make sense to me. So I have less confidence that this ship will turn around, Ty. But I'll let you kind of chime in here while I collect a few other thoughts as well. Where are you on Ashton Jeanty rest of the season?
I'm scared because the team went out and signed Tyler Lockett, and they're just going to feed Tyler Lockett, and that's going to take them home to the playoffs.
Talk about
Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett connection that we all love and know.
I see this one of 2 ways. I see this where if Chip Kelly wants to like build some kind of momentum here with this Vegas team in the second half of the year going into the future, you need to feature Ashton Jeanty. And it doesn't matter how ugly the game is. Like, you need to make Ashton Jeanty the offense instead of and when I say that, like, yes, we've seen carries with 20 or games with 20 plus carries, and we've seen games with 5 receptions or more. Like, we've gotten it in spurts where we need to make it a more consistent thing. But on the other side of this, I'm also with you, Lucas. I'm just like, man, I don't really know if I really want to invest in a team that I'm going to project to win maybe like a 2 or 3 more games the rest of the year. Like, yes, the schedule is decent for running backs, but like, we're going up against offenses like Denver and Dallas and the Chargers, and then Denver again, Philly, Kansas City. Like, I really, really hope that Chip Kelly can just put aside we need to make Dante Thornton a thing, Jack Besh a thing. Just simplify it. Just give Ashton Jeanty the ball. Give Brock Bowers the ball. Like, give your best players the ball and just see what happens. So I'm torn on this. And so I guess I don't have like the definitive answer as to like I'm in or out. I will very much fence it with Ashton Jeanty because it's just there's so many different ways to look at this.
I'm okay, and I've boiled it down in my head now. My concern is Geno Smith. If Geno Smith can't play well, then there's no reason to think he's going to be a threat to beat your defense. You're just going to come stack the box and just stop Ashton Jeanty from breaking off big explosive runs against your team. And so if Geno Smith can't turn it around, we saw this with the Cincinnati Bengals, right? There's like no threat of an offense with Jake Browning under center. But as soon as you competence in Joe Flacco in feeding Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, all of a sudden, we'll talk about him in a little bit, but the run game opens up a little bit more, right? So that's my big concern is can Geno Smith turn it around and not be playing at like a bottom 10 quarterback in the league level like he has been so far this year. Cameron, anything you want to wrap up with to maybe spur on a bit more confidence? Because I think Tyler and I have been more on the negative side here.
For sure. And I understand the offense, but that's where, for me, it's Ashton Jeanty, I think, is going to be good enough, or even if they're not good, he's still going to put up decent games. And when you get those good matchups, that's when we're going to see the explosion from Jeanty. It's, you look at, like you said, that the running back in Cincinnati, who we're going to talk about later, but don't want to mention. I think Ashton Jeanty is just such a significantly better running back that's where I'm betting on it, and the talent of Jeanty. And I understand you can bet on the talent, but if nothing's happening offensively, they just can't do anything. But similar to like a Quinshon Judkins in Cleveland, I still am going to bet on the talent of Jeanty.
I'll just say this real quick. The one game that I actually will watch Vegas this year is this game against Jacksonville in week 9. Your first game out of the bye.
Bye. Bump.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Like,
Yes.
Are we going to make a change in the offense after the bye to give the best players on our team the ball? And if you do, then I may be a little more inclined to say that, like, yeah, you know what? Jeanty can offer you something second or for the rest of the way. But if it's going to be the same old, or, it's going to be the same as what we saw in the first half of the year, I'm still going to be a little more hesitant on it then.
Yeah, that's what you're kind of resting hope on here is that the Raiders come out of the bye like finding a different identity in how they go about winning football games, developing a little bit more toughness in the trenches as well. Now, we will talk about another running back before we get to this secret Bengals running back that we're going to talk about in a bit. But before we do, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure you do that and hit that notification bell as well so you know when all of our newest content is up. I just took a look at our numbers. I didn't realize that 82.7% of you that watch our content aren't even yet subscribed to the channel. So let's change that quick. It's 100% free to you all. And at the end of the day, yes, we're bringing you our insights that I'm using to beat Cameron and Cam's using to beat Ty. And we're trying to help you beat your friends as well. But we want to remind you of the fun and camaraderie that comes with the game of fake football. What that Ty's using to beat Cameron and Ty's using to beat Lucas. Go ahead.
Thank you. I was like, what? I'm winning games this year. It's not a rebuild for me.
You're losing to me right now.
See, this is why you tune in. It's smack talk with your friends, just like we're smack talking with one another here, right? The fun and camaraderie that does come with the game of fake football. Appreciate it if you all would join us on our little journey, our little ride here. Ty, I'll kick it to you. The big dog. We talked about him before the Ravens bye week quite a bit, actually, because it was tough sledding for Derrick Henry going into the bye. We talked about it in our trending and ending shows before then. We said coming out of the bye, it's a great schedule coming up, and Derrick Henry could be someone that you can actually start to rely on once again and start to trust more deeply back half of the season.
Yeah, not going to lie. Like the next 2 games, Miami and Minnesota, and this Baltimore team is getting healthier and healthier. Like Derrick Henry could get back to the Derrick Henry of old, the one that we are more familiar with ever since joining Baltimore. This team, like I said, this team is getting healthier. We had the whole Lamar Jackson fiasco last week. He probably should have played. I don't get it. It's weird. It's weird, but he's back this week against Miami. This defense is getting healthier too. They are fully healthy, I should say, at this point. Like we've got no defensive linemen, no linebackers, no secondary players that are out with injury. Like everything is looking up for Baltimore at the right point. And when you look at the record, 2-6, 2-5, 2-6, I think. I should know that. Apologies. Okay. But you need to start winning. So a fully healthy Baltimore. 2-5. Thank you. Yes, because they had a bye.
Correct.
They need to start getting Derrick Henry the ball because their defense will be able to shut down offenses. So this really is straightforward for me. The better that Baltimore plays as a team, the more that Derrick Henry feasts in fantasy. I'm expecting more of that to continue regardless of the matchup. Yeah, there are tough matchups the rest of the way. We've got Cleveland on the docket. We've got New England on the docket. There's a lot of matchups where Derrick Henry could absolutely take over in a game because there's going to be a ton of volume for him to have.
Yeah, this is like not just for Derrick Henry, for the Baltimore Ravens. I feel like this is going to be a tale of two halves, right? A tale of two seasons for them, where first half of the season, everybody is banged up. It's not the easiest schedule in the entire world. Teams can start stacking the box against Derrick Henry. You're not with Lamar Jackson, the defenses, and all sorts of discombobulated. So yeah, no, you come back now, everybody's healthy. It's a great schedule. This could look like the Baltimore Ravens team of old. Cameron, are you riding that ship as well?
Yeah, I think the one thing people might worry about is they go, well, Lamar's back. Are we going to see those 21, 24 carries again? And the answer is yes. He had 325 carries last year, and Lamar Jackson was MVP with 40 passing touchdowns. They run the ball with Derrick Henry. They're going to continue to do that. If anything, he's just going to run it more efficiently. If you look at the Baltimore game he had, or not the Baltimore, the Buffalo game, every game is a Baltimore game for him, but the game he had 8 carries, 169 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's the type of week that you can, I don't want to say expect, but it was now again within the range of outcomes for Derrick Henry, and I think could happen, on any given week, and especially like you said, Miami, Minnesota. If you were gonna go make a trade for Derrick Henry, you have to do it right now.
Oh, it has to be right now. Yeah,
now. There is no waiting. It has to happen now.
Yeah, and even after 71 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Bears, like I'm not saying it's too late yet, but he's going to cost a lot more than when he had even just 24 for 122 before the bye week, right? It's going to cost you more now, but I do think that cost is going to be worth it. We don't have to keep talking about what we know is an elite running back in the NFL. So let's go on to this mystery Bengals running back. Taj Brooks is the play. No, I'm just kidding. Chase Brown. Chase Brown, second half league winner. We finally got the big Chase Brown game on Sunday against the Jets, right? And the efficiency has just been phenomenal over the last 2 weeks. 7.8 yards per carry against Pittsburgh and the Jets the last 2 weeks. Now, the bell cow volume hasn't been there, but this offense is just clearly much, 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 much better with Joe Flacco under center than Jake Browning. And rest of the season, there are plenty of defenses for Chase Brown to run all over. According to Draft Shark, Cincinnati actually has the easiest rest of season schedule for running backs. Chicago and Pittsburgh, they're not bad matchups to sandwich their week 10 bye. New England week 12, you're not super excited about after Pittsburgh. But then to close out the season, Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore, Miami in weeks 13 through 16, and you even get Arizona in week 17, which you're not going to shrug at Arizona either. So, you want to talk about a playoff gem? Maybe the Ravens defense does get healthier. They improve on their run defense. I totally think that's possible, but I think Chase Brown has a real chance to win league second half of the season.
So I thought all the same things, and I still think them to some extent, but my worry came when, like you said, hasn't had over 12 carries in the last 5 weeks.
Yep.
And this Bengals team just made Justin Fields look like a really good player. They made Brees Hall look like Jonathan Taylor looks right now this last week. And you named off all those teams, which are good to run against. But Baltimore, Buffalo, New England, I mean, even Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago,
Jason
Chicago,
points in all those games.
They are going to put up so much. So my worry is he's just not going to run the ball because they're going to be down and they're going to be playing catch up the entire game. That's where my concern is. And we just haven't seen the receptions come yet for Chase Brown. I'm not saying it's not there. I know it's in the realm of possibilities. That's just one of my concerns that held me back from personally naming him as my second half league winner. But I do agree that we could see something similar to what we saw last year if they are able to commit to the run even a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Chase Brown is going to average 9.8 yards per carry in every game. But even against Pittsburgh, when Jamar Chase drew 23 targets in a game that was back and forth, right? still 11 carries, 108 yards. I understand only 11 fantasy points, half PPR points on the afternoon, but you would hope his 2 receptions go for more than -8 yards if he does find the end zone. That's icing on the cake. So I'm a little bit more optimistic for Chase Brown. I get it. It's not going to be the I mean, I think it could get to the like RB10 price tag that you paid for him over the back half of the season, but Ty, I'll let you chime in here as well on Chase Brown. Can't express the reasons to be concerned. I completely understand that. Do you share those? Where do you land?
I think a lot of people may look at this last game against the Jets and see that Samaje Perine had more rushing yards than Chase Brown, and they're like, is this a thing? Should I be concerned about Samaje Perine? And I would say, like, Samaje Perine isn't someone that, like, you need to, like, be super worried about when it comes to Chase Brown's outlook, but you just need to be aware of who, like, if Chase Brown goes down, it's Samaje Perine. That's the kind of territory that Perine has now officially kind of entered into. So for the rest of the year, when it comes to Chase Brown, I understand the argument of like, yeah, this team's going to be chasing points. The rushing volume may not be there. Thankfully, it hasn't really been there the last couple of weeks. So the question for me is not like, do we get enough receiving work? And if we're going to be only getting like 3-4 catches a game, it's better than 0. But like, I feel like
you get a pad there. You at least get, I don't want to say a safety net because it's not a safety net, but you get some padding. You get some,
yeah,
at least.
Yeah, I would feel a lot better if like, obviously we all know that like Jamar Chase is going to be the guy the rest of the year as the number 1 because he walked away with another 19 targets. Like,
right,
absurd. But when T. Higgins is getting 2 targets, Noah Fant is getting 3, Chase Brown himself got 3, Tanner Hudson got 2, Andre
Yoshivas.
Oh my, thank you. Godly words are hard today. He got another 3.
Imagine not being able to pronounce names.
Yeah.
Around the world Gadsden here.
That's a great name.
It's a great
that is it's not a bad nickname.
I wish there was a clear like hierarchy in terms of like, right, Jamar is going to get the most, then it's going to be T. Higgins, and then it's going to be like Chase Brown. It feels like Chase Brown is still going to be kind of in the mix with the Noah Fants and the Tanner Hudsons of the world. And so that's what, like, yeah, you do get the little bit of padding, but I'm worried that you're still going to have some disappointments because you're like, man, like it could be better. Like Chase Brown is a guy that should be getting the ball more in this offense. But for whatever reason, I shouldn't say for whatever reason, they're just deciding, no, we're going to rely on Jamar Chase to win us games. So this is another one that I'm kind of torn on because I can see it both ways that like, yeah, Chase Brown actually, the improved efficiency helps him out. And you're chasing points. So you need to score. Maybe Chase Brown finds the end zone every other week, in the random game here. But I also just see it was just like, man, what if we don't get the big runs? What if the efficiency drops and the volume kind of stays the same as it's been the last 2 weeks?
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog, where you can get into the game this season playing Pick'em. It's extremely simple. Just pick higher or lower on 2 or more of your favorite players. For example, I'll pick the highers on Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Xavier Worthy. If I played $10 and got all 3 of them right, I would win $60 just by watching football. And that's the beauty of Pick'em. You can track your picks and your wins while you enjoy the game. Now, if you're not on Underdog yet, scan the QR code on your screen or use our code FELLAS when you sign up because new customers will get $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5 on the app. Plus, Underdog will give you a free pick to use in your first entry. Again, that's code FELLAS over on Underdog. Now let's get you back to the rest of the show. All right, let's move on to the mid-tier of players. We talked about some fantasy drafts this year. Let's move on to this mid-tier list of players now. Cameron, this is your guy. I know you're so happy to talk about Devonta Smith. I think you've earned your opportunity to talk about Devonta Smith after he has just been, absolutely tearing it up the last 2 weeks.
Yes, I have never wavered. He is my guy. I think he's extremely talented. And since week 3, like you said, he's proved me right. He's wide receiver 3 in receptions, wide receiver 4 in yards during that stretch. He has the second easiest wide receiver schedule over the rest of the season, according to Draft Sharks again. And I know he's been the wide receiver 2 in this offense. I know they haven't thrown a lot, but we do need to be honest at this point, halfway through the year. We just don't know 100% what's going on with the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts connection. I know at any week you can just snap, it's back together. But even if it does, that doesn't mean that Devonta Smith is gone, right? Devonta Smith has proven over and over. Wide receiver 17 in points per game last year. He was wide receiver 19 the year before, wide receiver 14 the year before that. He's a guy who's consistently performing as a as a wide receiver 2 or better. And I just think that it's going to continue this season because he has been absolutely red hot, and they are starting to use him all over the field. That's what I really like to see from Devonta Smith is he's getting those deep shots. He's getting, the short, quick passes. He's getting stuff across the middle. And we're just really seeing him start to come into his own. It's just the only reason he hasn't been higher from a fantasy perspective is he's only got 2 touchdowns. But he's also a guy over the last 3 years has had 7, 7, and 8. So I'm not worried about him starting to find the end zone coming forward. He's a guy, again, I'm betting on talent. Same with Saquon Barkley. I'm betting on talent there that there's so much talent on this Eagles offense that they're going to start to figure it out. I think it's going to run through Devonta, Saquon, and I do think it's going to run through A.J. Brown, but I think all 3 can eat and be really good moving forward simultaneously.
You look at the slate of games they have coming up after the bye. They have a week 9 bye here. Green Bay, that'll be a fun game where they're chasing points. Detroit could be a fun game, not chasing points, but both teams could put up a high scoring game is what I'm trying to say. Dallas, hello. Chicago, maybe a little bit, but we'll talk about week 13 when we get to week 13. The Chargers, that'll be a fun one. Vegas, they can totally beat up on. You get the Commanders. The Bills are a fun one. You get the Commanders again in week 18. So, I mean, this is a stretch of matchup for the Eagles. They kind of had to get there. They really had to set things right here in week 8 against the Giants, where you finally started to see Saquon Barkley. You saw Devonta Smith click in the passing game with Jalen Hurts. Dallas Goedert, hello, another big game in week 8. So I think you're finally starting to see this Eagles offense set its course, and they kind of need to with the schedule that they have over the back half of the season. I do like Devonta Smith rest of season. I question if we're going to see he's currently the wide receiver 12.5 PPR formats. Might I also add to your argument, Cameron? I don't know if we're going to see him get that high over the back half of the season, but that's also just like me probably being like, well, Devonta Smith, if AJ Brown's still there, he's still the alpha. I would rather have AJ Brown, but I'm not going to write off this Eagles offense in any capacity and how they could funnel fantasy points to a guy like Devonta Smith high.
This one is a weird one for me because I agree that like the perceived value of Devonta Smith is lower than where he's currently like producing at right now. Like for being a top 15 receiver, it feels like we're still like,
we're not talking about him like a top 15 receiver at all.
Exactly. My concern rest of the year will be touchdowns. When you have AJ Brown, when you have Saquon Barkley, when you have Dallas Goedert now, which apparently like is their red zone, like kind of offense right now is Dallas Goedert and Jalen Hurts that even too. I feel like just having 2 touchdowns through the, 8 games this year, I feel like we're finishing somewhere around like 5-6 touchdowns, which, when you do get the touchdowns, it's going to absolutely help out your day. The other side of this though, your games right out of the bye, Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas, Chicago. Points. You need points to win those games. So can Devonta like PPR scam his way? Because I'm still not sold that Philly can automatically run the ball now after going against the Giants. I think, yes, you do have the bye week. You can kind of sort it out a little bit. But I would rather see a game before going out on a limb and saying that, like, yeah, it's fixed now for the rest of the year. So again, another one that I can see so many different ways, but I feel more comfortable saying like, yeah, Devonta can actually like PPR his way to being like a top 15 guy for the rest of the year. And it's still the point of like what I kind of let in with, like, we're not talking about him enough as a top 15 guy the rest of the year because we think of the other playmakers here on this Eagles offense. So I do like Devonta the rest of the year because again, Philly's going to need to throw the ball. That's my bet that I would take for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a valid way to wrap up that point. And Cam, I do think it's important too that you brought up like the reports are flying left and right about AJ Brown. Diana Rossini seems adamant that the Eagles could be doing something with him at the trade deadline. I personally don't think the Eagles will move AJ Brown before the deadline. I have no resources on that whatsoever. I'm not an insider or anything. It's not. Everything with his contract makes it very, very difficult for that to happen. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not going to bother trying to get into the details, but the way his contract is structured makes it very, very difficult for a team to make a move for AJ Brown. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? But that is part of the upside case you have to think about for Devonta Smith, where if there's going to be drama with the team and AJ Brown, if AJ Brown does get moved, whatever, AJ Brown is a wild card in this equation. And so that does play into a factor of Devonta Smith and his upside case for being a second half league winner. Ty, I'll kick it to you. An interesting name, a guy who just hasn't been on the field as much as we would like to this year. He would have ample opportunity if he were on the field, but it is Ricky Pearsall of the 49ers. You do think he could be a second half league winner?
I do, because I'm not very similar to how I'm not totally bought in that Philly's run game and run blocking is completely fixed. This game against Houston this past week kind of put a spotlight on the fact that San Francisco has really, really struggled with run blocking this year. That's why you've seen not super great rush performances from Christian McCaffrey this year. And I'm kind of expecting that to continue, to be completely honest with you. And the solution, at least it was against Atlanta, was to use George Kittle more in the run blocking scheme. And that's not to say that I don't think George Kittle is not going to be a valuable piece of fantasy for the rest of the year. He'll still have his games. But when I look at the passing game here in San Francisco, you've got Juwan Jennings, who's battling ankle, shoulder, and broken ribs. I should say ankle and shoulder injuries.
Cracked ribs.
Yes. This dude is beyond hurt, and whatever beaver tranquilizer he is playing with during games, I would appreciate some of that for some of those days where you wake up and your head is just pounding. I could appreciate some of that. But then if you're going to have George Kittle playing more as a run blocker, or you need him to chip more to give some protection for Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall kind of has he at least has a path to being one of the one of the top target getters, if not the top target getter for the 49ers the rest of the year. I say one of, because I feel like Christian McCaffrey might lead this team in receiving for the rest of the year, because that's the way that they're operating right now. But again, I just look at how they've utilized Ricky so far this year. Before the injury, he was the wide receiver 17 in usage. He was the downfield guy in this offense. So with the possibility of more volume going his way because of how this offense needs to adjust, I'm okay. Rarely do I want to chase an injury and think and try to bet on the bounce back. But this is one of the very few times where I think I want to, because again, I see a path and I'm willing to take the chance on it with the value as low as it is right now on Ricky Pearsall.
And I am not. That's literally my only opinion on Ricky Pearsall. I love the player. I love the opportunity that he can get in this offense, because I do think when this offense is fully healthy and functioning, Ricky Pearsall could be a big part of that as the wide receiver one for this team. I don't want to chase the injury though, because I don't know how healthy he's going to be. Flat out, he hasn't played football in a month. I'm just concerned. I'm not saying he's going to be injured the rest of the season, but it seems like all we've talked about with Ricky Pearsall this year, outside of maybe 2 weeks, is what nagging injury does he have, and that's my worry rest of season. So Cameron, I don't know where you're at, but for me, it's I'm not too interested in Rick, because I don't know if I want to chase this injury.
Yeah, I'm kind of at the same spot. That was what I was going to say. Is I like Rick too. He was another guy I was really considering. These MCL strains or sprains or whatever he has, that knee injury, they scare me. DK Metcalf last year started red hot, got one, never came back the same. Now the good thing about Ricky is they've taken their time, at least bringing him back. Right, they're not rushing him, throwing him back in, so it gives you a little more optimism that hey, when he does come back, he is going to be back. So I don't hate it. I just think it's risky, and
Yes.
That's really what it comes down to. So if you're able to tolerate the risk, right? If you're on a team right now that you have a whole bunch of other guys, you have like a solid wide receiver 3 that you're like, hey, he's serviceable, but I want to take a guy who has upside that maybe I can get a little cheaper from a team who needs points now. Ricky's a perfect guy to slide into that type of team. But if you're going, I'm throwing him in my wide receiver 2 rest of the season, I'm a little bit nervous that he's just not going to be able to perform up to that. But if he does hit, I do think, like Ty was saying, I think there's a path for it to be really big.
If it hits, there's a path to it. I 100% agree. If it hits, and that's the part where I'm like, I'm not sold because I need to see him back on the football field first before I'm really ready to make any sort of formative opinion about where he's at rest of season in my mind. Let's talk about another player who hasn't played a full season thus far. Maybe I'll leave it at that because Jordan Addison is my pick for being a second half league winner. On a points per game basis right now, Jordan Addison is the wide receiver 10, averaging 13.4 points per game in half PPR formats. It's a small sample, of course, right? We only have seen him for 4 games this year. But Scott Barrett over at Fantasy Points talked about this on his show with Theo Greminger. Over Jordan Addison's last 11 games with Justin Jefferson, Addison has actually outscored Justin Jefferson in 6 of those games. And we have yet so far this year to see the colossal Jordan Addison game where he puts up 130 yards and anywhere between 1 to 3 scores, right? It's either been 50 yards in a score this year or it's been 120 yards and no score on like 8 to 12 targets. That game, or like potentially even games, should be coming in the back half of the season, I think, for Jordan Addison, considering, once again, according to Draft Sharks, the Vikings have the easiest strength of schedule for wide receivers rest of season. Could this be dependent? I'll name the JJ McCarthy variable here. Could this be dependent on how well he bounces back? 1,000%. I guess that's a variable I'm more willing to chase, though, than an injury outright, because I don't think it hasn't been all bad with JJ McCarthy. He's thrown some ropes over the intermediate part of the field this year, down the sideline this year. He does need to put it all together, but Addison, in my mind, is just massive upside rest of season, especially when teams, divisional opponents especially, over the back half of the year are going to want to limit Justin Jefferson as much as they possibly can.
I agree that he could be good, but I don't know if I can stomach the wide receiver 2 for JJ McCarthy rest of the year is my biggest concern when we haven't seen over 160 passing yards in a game out of him. That's my biggest concern. It's not like Carson Wentz came and lit it up either. And so, obviously Jordan Addison has some decent games, but
wide receiver 10 with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's
points per game.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. I think I personally see him and Ricky the same moving forward, about the same amount of risk. I think Addison, you're at least going to get in games. Ricky, it's just, is he going to play or not? I just see them very similar from a risk perspective. And I see that, I would like to say, I think Ricky has a higher ceiling because I think he can be the wide receiver 1, but he's probably always going to be second target, similar to Jordan Addison. So I see them very similar moving forward. It's just different types of risk, but I see the risk very similar. Ty didn't like that. Ty thought that was really dumb.
Sorry, Addison has played 5 games this year as well. Let me correct myself. I said 4 games. And those 6 of 11 games does include Thursday Night Football.
I think the only difference that I see, like I'll respond to the Ricky Addison comparison. I just think San Francisco's offense is going to be better than Minnesota's the rest of the way. So there's nuances and there's there's variations that we can debate all day long. I feel like this is a very similar situation to Philadelphia, where I'm not sold that Minnesota will be able to effectively run the ball, no matter how healthy the offensive line is. And so it doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. They're at least going to have to throw the ball more than usual. KOC was kind of showing those tendencies also towards the end of the Carson Wentz playing days, before obviously pretty much destroying his shoulder, or having his shoulder absolutely
he broke that
destroyed.
Man entirely. Carson Wentz is a broken human. I mean, I don't know how he comes back to the NFL after that. I feel so bad for him.
Yeah. So That's not to say that there's a guarantee that Jordan Addison, will come through every single week because the passing volume will be there. At least it's just that the opportunity is there for Jordan Addison to actually continue kind of the trend that he's on of finding like 7+ targets in these games where they're chasing points and it's a good matchup. Maybe there's something there then. But at the same time, I think it's fair to say he will go as far as JJ McCarthy will take the rest of this offense. Because we can all admit it hasn't been great. It has not been what we thought it was going to be. So this will definitely be this will also be a game that I will want to see for JJ McCarthy's first game back against Detroit, just to see, okay, what is it going to be like the rest of the way? And it won't surprise me if he kind of falls flat on his face. It would surprise me if he looks good, if he
exceeds
gives
expectations.
Right. Like it would surprise me a little bit. And then we would kind of have to reevaluate how we view these pass catchers. But maybe the best way to say this is that, like, yes, Addison and Ricky Pearsall are both kind of these wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 guys that you can have on your team. And you're going to take any kind of good game that they're going to give you because they might just be few and far between.
I was going to say, these guys should be at least wide receiver 3s on your team rest of season. I mean, I feel like we should be talking about Jordan Addison as a guy who's borderline top 20 play most weeks based on the consistency he's been giving you. I get it with JJ McCarthy. So if you want to bring him down to what, like a flex play every single week, I get it if you would rather look at it that way. I'm just saying if things do click with JJ McCarthy, if he does start to turn it around, I'll throw out Bryce Young even back half of last season, right? When we had the whole Andy Dalton debacle in Carolina where he came in for a handful of weeks. Then we see Bryce Young turning out back half of the season. We've seen it happen before, right? We can point to that specifically. So I'm not by no means guaranteeing that JJ McCarthy is going to come back and light it up right away. But if teams are going to be trying to take away JJ McCarthy's top option, who's going to be the next read in the progression? Not always, but more times than not, I feel like when you're expecting it to go to JJ in those situations, like Jordan Addison, it's always 3 on the jersey that comes up. And it makes me want to rip my hair out, but I also know it's because these defenses are just honing in their resources on stopping 18 instead. Let's do some rapid fire to close it out here, fellas. We've talked about 6 guys who could be league winners over the back half of the season. Before we go rapid fire around, though, want to make sure to let the people know they can head over to our Discord at any point. If you have questions about trades, waiver wire pickups, whatever it may be, head to our Discord, because if you leave your question there, almost always someone from us or our community will make sure your question is taken care of over there. You can find that down in the description or pinned a comment in the video you are listening to. Rapid fire to close it out. Bottom tier guys. I'll say bottom tier guys, long shot guys, dart throw guys, guys who, if they turn it on over the back half of the season, it's like, holy cow, it's like the Amon-Ra St. Browns, right? That's kind of what we're trying to shoot for here with these players, is who is the shocking rookie that takes over, or the shocking second year, third year player who's going to break out over the final 5, 6, 7 games of the season. Cameron, I really like your pick. Texans wide receiver Jalen Noel. He's been tearing it up since he's gotten the opportunity. Look, they got to keep putting him on the field. Barely 50% of snaps here over the last 2 weeks. They got to keep rolling him out there.
Yeah, not even 50%. He's almost under 40% the last 2 weeks, and he still had 6 and 7 targets, still put up 60 and 70, averaging 70 yards a game over the last 2 weeks. So he's a guy, 8 half PPR fantasy points in 3 straight weeks. Like you said, I just don't think you can keep him off the field. I think we see this with rookies all the time. They just keep earning more reps. And when you keep putting them out there, they're going to keep, getting better and better. And he's got to beat out Christian Kirk, who just can't stay healthy for this slot role. And I think this slot role is going to be utilized heavily on this Texans team, who just can't really stop any pass rush. And so I think these quick passes to Jalen Noel, especially when Nico Collins gets back and he's your deep threat, you have Jaden Higgins on the other side. I really like Jalen Noel. I know he's still, Braxton Berrios was playing as well in this last game. So I know there's a lot of bodies. But from what we've seen, I think it's going to be pretty clear in a couple weeks that he's the guy that they're using in the slot. So he's definitely someone that I would take a shot on, one of those roster bench stashes moving forward for sure.
1,000%. I think he needs to be stashed on a lot more rosters going through the back half of the season here. Even when Nico Collins comes back, I think Jalen Noel is a guy who should be stashed based on the increased role that he hopefully should be seeing if Nick Caley is smart enough to start putting him on the football field more than the Xavier Hutchinsons. That just baffles me of the world. Ty, will come to you here. Pearsall down in Jacksonville. Second half league winner for you. Potentially second half league winner. Again, more of a dart throw. Long shot pick.
Yeah, more of a dart throw. In Jacksonville's 2 games before the bye, Pearsall was actually outplaying Travis Etienne, not by snaps, but by like efficiency, right? He was the more productive back with his opportunities. 5.2 yards per carry to Etienne's 3.6. Even yards after contact per attempt, 1.86 for Tootin to Etienne's 1.15. Yes, really small sample size. 2 games with not over like a combined 8 carries in those games. But the biggest takeaway here is that Etienne's production has been on a decline since about week 3 when you remove week 4, because week 4 he had like 2 big runs against San Francisco. He's been getting less work because of that. He's averaging 3.9 yards per carry. Travis Etienne averaging 3.9 yards per carry when you remove the big runs against San Francisco. And the volume has dropped from an average of 16 carries the first 4 weeks to 10 since then. And now they're coming off of the bye. So if Pearsall continues to there's no word to say out efficiency somebody, but like Pearsall may have opened the door just a little bit to get on the field more and start taking some touches away from Travis Etienne. It wouldn't surprise me. It's definitely a long shot. That's why he's a dart throw like why I put him in the dart throw category. But Pearsall might kind of earn his way into being in a near like 50-50 split here with Etienne by season's end.
I'm going to go ahead and make it 3 straight rookies to close out the show. His dart throws, right? It's always second half of the season. We typically see these rookies get their bump. It's after their bye week. It's over the back half of the season once they have 6, 7, 8 games. Or even 9, 10 in some cases. 6. Oh my gosh. I knew
you did it. You did it again.
That was your fault.
You can only blame yourself for that one.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're 27 to 28. What are we doing here?
I'm 26.
Is that the cutoff? For all you youths in the chat, I can't even say that. We're so young enough where we would be roped into that category.
That's me.
Anyways, for rookies, they need some weeks under their belts before I'm totally throwing off my game now. I'm just going to talk Colson Loveland. I'm just going to transition. I'm just going to talk about Colson Loveland, a third rookie here. I don't have any major stats to point to so far to tell you that Colson Loveland has been underperforming or that would actually point towards a breakout. But what I do have, though, is that the Chicago Bears have the second easiest strength of schedule for tight ends over the rest of the season. Look, when we are streaming tight ends, the matchups are like basically the number one thing we're looking at, and they might even matter more than almost any other position that you're looking at, because of that, like it's weighted so much more is what I'm trying to say, because you just have less to go off of in terms of stickiness with tight end stats. You get Cincinnati in week 9, boom, phenomenal matchup. You get Pittsburgh in week 12, phenomenal matchup. You get Green Bay twice in weeks 14 and 15. All 3 of those teams, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, they are the 3 teams who have given up the most fantasy points per game to the tight end position this year. I have to imagine a team that spent the 10th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft on this guy wants to continue getting him more involved in the back half of the season with such a soft schedule against tight ends for Colson Loveland to take advantage of. So, look, he's giving you no reason to play him. He's literally tight end 50 on the season. I just got to imagine in a Ben Johnson-led offense, after spending the 10th overall pick on him, the Bears have to start featuring him more at some point. I know people talk about Luther Burden being a stash. Dude, how about Colson Loveland, the guy who was the 10th overall pick? Like, that has to matter at some point here. And when you get soft schedule, I think it's a great spot for Colson Loveland to take advantage of. We'll put a pin in everything there. Second half league winners. If you appreciate the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell as well, so you know when all of our newest content is up. 100% free for you all. One of the easiest ways to support our work, our laughter, or maybe just the eye rolls that we provide you as well. Probably majority eye rolls, if I had to guess. If you want to follow our other socials, though, maybe less eye rolls over there. FF Fellas over on Twitter, the FF Fellas over on Instagram, Fantasy Football Fellas on Facebook and TikTok. If you are a YouTube individual through and through, I hear you. I completely get it. We got something for you there too. Fantasy Football Fellas Shorts. All exclusive content there. I almost made the shorts joke and I had to pause myself because I haven't done it in like a month, and I knew, and that would be the eye roller. That would be the eye roller here for you too. So
Yeah,
it makes us eye roll. So
yeah,
and I am wearing the salmon shorts that I typically wear. So at any rate, all exclusive content over there. It's nothing recut from the podcast. It's all exclusive, brand new content that you all don't see on this channel. So we appreciate you supporting our work there as well. Personal socials, I'm at Lucas Wenzel on X, Camlaw, F for Cameron, Tyler _Plath, or Ty. We'll see you all tomorrow for some trade targets. We'll be back later this week with starts and sits. We'll have a live stream on Sunday for you as well. Best of luck as you run your week 9 waivers and considering who you trade for this week. We'll be back tomorrow with trade targets. Deuces.
Deuces.
Deuces.